So let's talk about
Yes.
breath work, because it's so important. And I think we need to take an opportunity now that we are speaking to you to learn more. So Confucius said, what has to be taught first is the breath. A Sanskrit proverb reminds us, if you breathe well, you will live long and healthy. We also know that breath is one thing we can't live without for the shortest amount of time. We can live without water for longer. We can live without food even longer. So can you explain why breath is so important for leaders to pay attention to, and how someone new to breath work can begin?
Well, I'm very happy that you've read my book. So thank you. I appreciate that. So a lot of the time when I come into new corporate environments or people are thinking about engaging me, they start going, oh, I'm not sure. Like, this seems a little bit too emotional for me, or an experience. I'm a very logical, we're a finance organization. And I like to counter it and I go, well, let me tell you some stories. Where did I learn breath? I learned breath when I was training as an army officer. As an army officer, I went to the equivalent of West Point in Australia, 4 years of the highest quality leadership training you can get in the world. And what would happen is, when we were in combat, the soldiers would go on an automatic program to go down, start defending ourselves. And the officer, what did we have to do? Because we were the one who were making the decisions. Straight away, we had to get down on the ground and we had to start using the breath to regulate our state, because naturally we've been into a stress state. Fear is rising over. And when we're in that state, we do not see the bigger picture, because by nature, blood flow goes away from the brain into our limbs in a physiological experience to try to protect us and to run. However, we can't be running. We need to be the ones who can look at everything and go, what is the decision that we need to make super, super quick? And you don't do that from a mind place. You do that from an actually heart place. What we would do is regulate our breath using an elongated breath, activating the parasympathetic nervous system. That place would feel more relaxed, more calm, more be able to see the bigger picture rather than being tunnel visioned. Then we would intuitively go to our training, but also ask our heart, what do we need to do right now? And our decision would happen so much quicker, because we weren't trying to understand everything. We just knew, because that's what the heart does. We go from a place of knowing, and that's where the subconscious is, in the feelings-based place. So if we're using this in a military, masculine dominated area, perhaps there's some truth we could use this in the corporate environment as well. What happens in a corporate environment? Something happens, we get a bad result, or an employee does something, or a customer complains. To the mind and the physical body, that feels the exact same as an enemy shooting at us. We can't tell the difference. It just feels the exact same. Cortisol gets flooded through our body. We go into fight, flight, or freeze, and then we don't make accurate decisions. And when we're in that place, we make perhaps decisions which are from a habitual program, which may not actually be true, or we may miss out on the bigger picture. So once again, we need to use breath to regulate our state, check in, are we in fear or in love? Because you don't want to make a decision from a fear-based place. And then we bring conscious awareness to the behavior that we're about to do. Now, we know this. There's certain people who you look at them and like, oh, they're having a bad day, and they've been activated and they're acting like children. They're being short with everyone. And we've seen this with certain bosses. That energy ripples through the organization, and before we know it, we have a grumpy organization. Wouldn't it be great if that boss took some agency and realized, whoa, he's activating some programs which are causing challenging experiences for everyone else in the organization? If instead, what I call a circuit breaker, they activate a circuit breaker, they regulate their emotion, and then they go, what conscious behavior do I need to do now to get the outcome that I want? And now, obviously, the outcome is a feeling within the rest of the organization. So this is very, very tangible things. And I've helped people negotiate $100 million transactions by getting them into a love-based place instead of a fear-based place. And then they've been able to pick up certain things that they wouldn't have been able to pick up in a deal before. I've helped people revolutionize their culture through activating their breath and bringing awareness to how their behaviors are impacting other people in the organization too.
Finnian, so using breath to regulate our state, can you show us exactly how it is done?
Okay, great. So there is a direct link between our psychological state and our physiological state. They connect with each other. They drive each other. Now, what's beautiful about that is if you don't like your psychological state, you can use a change in your physiological state to actually change your psychological state. So we're in a place where we're stressing, we're ruminating over a situation. We don't know how to make a decision. Our mind is in a loop. We're going round and around. That's a time to go, all right, our mind is already in overdrive. I'm not going to be able to think myself out of this problem. I'm sure you know that situation where you're like, whoa, I'm a little bit lost. That's when we have to lean on the physiological experience and go, okay, what do I need to do? If you observe your breath in those states, you're probably doing a short breath. It's shallow, it's fast, it's up in the upper chest. It's not a full regulated breath. So in the simplest forms, we could just start using a perfect breath in and out through our nose for 5 seconds. So count through our nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then letting it out through the nose for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if we do that for 3 rounds, maybe 1 minute, 1 minute is the perfect. It's 5, you'll get 5.5 liters of air. If you do 5.5 breaths per minute for 5.5 seconds. And what happens then is our mind and our heart, our brain and our heart goes into coherence. And in that place, that's when we're best regulated to actually make decisions. So that's one. Another really good one is one called the physiological sigh. And this is a great one when you just want to blow off stress. And I'm going to demonstrate that now. It's 2 breaths in through the nose, 1 full inhale, a pause, and then a second sharp inhale through the nose, and then a long breath out the mouth while you look out into the horizon. So I'll guide that now. So letting out all your air, and then inhale, second inhale, and then long breath out through the mouth. Let's try that one more time. A long inhale through the nose, pause, and then another inhale, and then long exhale. What did you notice?
It works very well. I usually go to meditation when I need to come back and kind of connect with myself, but this is faster. You can get results faster.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly it. So they've actually done scientific studies that, yes, meditation is super powerful, but a lot of the reason meditation is powerful because we're actually consciously driving the breath, like we're regulating the breath. But if you actually want to get the quickest return, and that's a lot of these leaders, they don't have much time, so they need to get the biggest leverage out of it. They leverage energy instead of time, is they'll do this breath. And 5 minutes of that physiological sigh is the greatest preventer of stress and anxiety. If people just did that before they started their workday, watch what would happen throughout their workday. They would be responding instead of reacting. They would be, that's okay. It's not such a big deal. And then they'd be able to see the bigger picture. They'd make better decisions. They'd connect better with people. And yes, they might have taken 5 minutes out of their day, but I guarantee they save so much more time later on because we don't need to get more time. We need to get better at decision making. And the way we get better at decision making is making sure that we're in the right energetic state to make that decision. And we've got some great examples of leaders who embody this. Jeff Bezos, one of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time, he has, I don't know if people know this, but he only makes decisions between 1 and 2 hours a day. He won't allow any other decisions for the rest of the day because he knows there is a finite capacity of energy where he's at his highest potential. He knows a certain window of the day where he's actually in his greatest energy, and his decisions really matter. So why would he risk making a decision later in the day when he's tired? Because potentially that could set off a ripple effect of errors. So we need to be aware of that. We need to be aware of how we're structuring our day. And that's one of the greatest tools that I actually talk about in the book, is to do an energy audit. Energy is very transparent. It's very clear whether something gives you energy or takes away your energy. That's not an understanding, that's a knowing. And what we do is I get people to reflect over a whole week, and after every activity, every interaction, every meeting, I want them to go, did this a plus or a negative? Did this give me energy or did it take away? And why? A little bit of a reflection. And what happens once you look at your whole week, you're going to start seeing some patterns. You're going to start observing, whoa, when I have these type of meetings in the afternoon, I'm not very efficient. It takes energy away. When I meet with these certain types of people, I lose energy. Wow, I notice that whenever I have like a team dynamic and we're brainstorming, I get so much energy. And then what you can do is then you can now be proactive and start changing your schedule. Do you know one of the number one things I see with CEOs who I work with? They're running the company and they don't think they have choice. So often I have CEOs come to me and they're completely burnt out and they're stressed and they don't know what to do and they think they have no time. And then I start really digging into their calendar and I go, why are all these meetings 1 hour? And that's just the default setting in Google or Microsoft. What if we change them to 30 minutes? Just try that, see what happens. And they were like, wow, most meetings didn't need to go for an hour. They went for 30 minutes. A lot of their time has got back. Another thing, why are all these recurring meetings? Well, that's just the way it's always been done. We've just always had recurring meetings. Do you think, are you enjoying them? And they're like, no. Are they adding much value? So why are you doing them? And before you know it, I've given them back half their calendar just through some smart decisions. And then we need the space, and this is a huge element, we need the space as leaders to see the vision, to allow the insights to come through from what I call the universal mind, where this intelligence comes through us, and then that's the innovative opportunities that we see. That's the moment where we're able to actually get in and help a team, rather than what most leaders are on. They don't have a single bit of space, and they're just fighting fires. We don't want fighting fires. We want to be literally preventing fires.